Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your man, Monstrosity X. Your man, your homeboy, your brother from another mother, back at you again with another episode of the Matrix Doctrine. I gotta put one of those overlays over here. Yeah. Yeah. So today we be talking about. First, I guess I should say how is everybody out there? And hope y'all feeling good today. Hope the prices and all that stuff ain't getting you down. And hope you're doing your thing. Yeah, I gotta get some overlays. I gotta get me some overlays on this mother. Yeah, that's what we talking about today. Systems of control, the matrix doctrine, and society. Because society is the very first one. Let me see if I'm working. Okay, yeah, we working. All right. Yeah, society is exactly what the Matrix all about. It's the culmination of all of the things that I've been talking about as far as the systems of control. It is the main thing that brings all of those together. That every all of those things are built for so that the society can function, or society can function in our minds, because that's what everything is about, is systems of controlling how you think and how you operate. From the very first ones that I started talking about, like words, how all of this stuff is made up. Somebody, everything that we talk about from day to day, the things that we do from day to day, are all things that somebody made up at some point. Words are all made up. You go back and you listen, you look in the dictionary, you see that words are part of you'll see that they have some kind of a origin. That means that somebody made them up. And the further back in history you go, and this is where I get my ideas from. So when you go further back in history, you'll see that things don't operate the same. That there's less of everything. From the way we talk, there was less words. Just going back to the 1980s, we didn't use all these digital terminologies because we didn't have them. We didn't make them up yet. And then if you go back to the early 1900s, we didn't have TVs and cars. Or well, maybe cars, because I think they came in the late 1800s. But you go back past that, like I said, and there's no cars. There's you go back further, there's no trains, there's no planes. So you keep cutting words out of your vocabulary the further back in history, and you see that at some point we was all grunting at each other, just like animals. We were using rudimentary communications. So in that's the beginning of it all, because this gets passed down to, as we grow, to our children. So then your parents actually become arbiters or harbingers or whatever of this system of control, making your children believe, and even from the words, teaching them how to speak, teaching them religion, sending them to school to get indoctrinated in all of these things. There's very few things you need from school besides learning how to read, because you need to know how to communicate in this new system. I should have been recording this. uh yeah, so society is what we made of it from the very beginning. At one point it was just a collection of people in tribes that just like Native American people. And it was how they believed in things. It was absolute total freedom then, where we didn't. There was rules, but it didn't. You wasn't forced into a labor to work a hard labor in any way, shape, or form for other people. So you was a way more free individual back in those era and then that those times, no matter what country you came from. So the further back you see that you had more freedoms and we lived in harmony. Even if we had wars and all of that and fought with each other, killed each other, had diseases and all of this stuff, we still survived it and grew, multiplied. So there was nothing there that was wiping us out as a people. We kept growing exponentially. And so society is just the belief to make people believe that we need to work in a certain way and give up our freedoms. So let me share a little thing with y'all, uh, because I've been looking up some things here. Let's go back to this. Okay, it says society, um, and the aggregate of people living together in a more or less ordered community, drugs, crimes, and other dangers to society. No, there are no real dangers to society, because the reason why we built society is to protect against other people wanting to take our resources. So, or the animals, the wildlife. And so those things are basically not really in existence anymore. There's no real people out there trying to take our way of life from us. They might be like Russia might be over there trying to take over a, a section of what it once believed belonged to them. So now they're trying to reincorporate. So, and things like that can happen, but that might be the same thing happens here. If we ever decide to break up, who's to say what type of rhetoric that the society will uh bring about? You see the cancel culture and all of that. Let's say that Florida or New York or some any place decided to secede. Everybody else is gonna and then that, or Texas, where they got the guns and everything like that, right? And they decide to secede, and then everybody in the northern region say, "Hey, well, they're dangerous because they don't believe in our ways. They got people running around with guns, doing whatever." Then it's reasonable to believe that at some point the United States might go back in there and take it. You know what I mean? So there's because we have the overwhelming power against them, just like with the Soviets now with over there in well, you know where I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm a little bit out there. I just got finished eating it. I'm trying to rush it here and get my mind together. I set this stuff up earlier, so but yeah, society is what we make of it, and that's why I don't understand how people are so locked in, and that's why I say the matrix is real and we are living in it right now, because we refuse to see it in any other way. Uh, Money, this fake thing, that's another system of control. Religion, all of these things that I brought up, laws, because nobody can stop you from breaking the law. So that means that's part of your freedom. And I just keep wondering, why can't people understand that It's not, you don't have to give up your freedom in order to live in a socially responsible environment. Uh, People did it back in the days, and there was always the outliers who caused the problems. But we've lived in these types of societies all the time, and just because now we have more luxuries, that's the only real difference. People are still attacking one another for whatever particular reasons, and then we come up with even worse ideologies. But the worst part of society is that it's collapsed to the point that weak people think that they have a right to tell everybody else what we should do. These movements that are coming up now are suggesting that society should alter itself to believe what the smallest section of society should, what they believe it should be, instead of what, because society was basically built and claimed that uh it was to help, that is to help. It's a social contract, right? uh, an implicit agreement amongst the members of a society to cooperate for social benefits, for example, by sacrificing some individual freedoms for state protection. Why do we need state protection? I don't understand that. But for state protection, theories of a social contract became popular in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries among theorists such as Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean Jacques uh, Jacques Rousseau, as a means of explaining the origin of government and the obligations of subjects. Obligations of subjects. What the obligations of subjects got to do with the government? The government shouldn't, we should don't owe the government anything. The government is supposed to be there to serve us. Back then, it was set up in a way so that they could fight the wars, because we was fighting wars against England. We was an occupation over here where the English occupied, the French and all of these people came here and occupied. And so we fought them off. And then so we needed to have some kind of governing party to negotiate back then with these foreign uh powers. and and that's why we need government. And so government is not really needed today, especially because we no longer have these invading forces. The many of the wars of the later years was mostly amongst ourselves and the Native Americans. So and then, well, with World War I and II, but we went over there to stop something before it got too big, and helping allies. It wasn't, well, they did come here with the Pearl Harbor incident. So that did draw us in. But anyway, society is what we make of it, and we don't need money anymore. You see right now, money is just getting out of hand, and they don't know what to do with it. These the people who are trying to predict things, and it's not coming out the way they say it is, and we just getting worse problems. Nothing ever goes down. It always comes back up, comes down a little, then goes up higher, comes down a little, then not to where it never goes back to where it was. It never goes back down to where it was. Everything always keeps building and building, and people take advantage of that. The people in power and the people who are wealthy. Because today you see the government don't really do anything. They just fight, and got us fighting against one another. And that's what I say society should be about. the people, and the people are all weak. People make us weaker, and depending on the government, and you see that happening more and more. Weak people are crying out, talking about how the government should make laws about speech, how we talk, how we have interactions with one another, uh, um, uh, that consent between two adults is no longer consent. All of these things the government had nothing had shouldn't have anything to do with. And it started back in the days, um because society is changing right now, but it's women, and it's because the people in power see that they could use women against the stronger individuals, men, in order to force them to agree to giving power to the people in power, which is government and big business. So and you see they advertise to them, and women buy all of their products. They get operations on themselves because Cosmo and all of these different magazines say they have the right to do all of these things. And really, all it is them throwing money at corporate entities left and right, from makeup to lip collagen to operations. So the medical cosmetic uh, medicine is heavily influenced because they've been told you want to be beautiful instead of being. There was a time when people was happy with who they were, but then you get all of these weak people who following wealthy people, and then they want to force these wealthy ideals on us, because that's what the feminist movement is. It's middle high upper middle class white women that's really pushed this the whole time, and white men, because a lot of these movements were began by men. The right to vote was pushed by men. Women didn't want to do it because they was going to get drafted. So a lot of these things are pushed by powerful men. Was it McCarthy or one of them? Or I haven't done all of my research, I admit, but my ideas doesn't come from research through looking at individuals. It's from looking over time and how we've been keep consistently giving up our rights as we've become softer and softer. We've been giving up, we've been laying back and becoming softer and softer, while government takes more power, corporations take more power, and then the softest amongst us, the moistest amongst us, become wards of the state and these corporations. And you see, the corporations didn't waste time jumping in to the side to defend these people, because they're the ones that's most looked at as needing assistance. So when people say, "Oh, you can't neglect that they are the most vulnerable," and so when the government and the corporations jump in, yeah, what they have every right to say, well, what right do you have to stop us from helping the weakest amongst us? That's what society is. That's what the social contract is. But wait a minute, you can't claim two and three different facts and then use them all against a section of society. The section of society, by the way, that all of these people depend on to work, but they know that. See, this is something that I should I gotta learn again to separate the way I think because I'm running on. Uh the social contract, I'm going to come back to that. But the social contract and how we believe is all these systems of control put together to in order, and society, that's what society is. A culmination of all of these rules in order to lock us all into a manner, a way of thinking or way of thought, and then it becomes natural. We believe that we're something better when we're just animals. All animals teach their young the same things, and we're the only ones that want to teach all of these things that have no relevancy to surviving. And that's because we've come to uh, worship our luxuries. And so those luxuries, the matrix depends on these luxuries because these are your treats. These are how you train a like an animal. You give them treats in order to make them do what you want them to do or to accept the things that you want to accept, and then you punish them when they go outside of what the guidelines in which you set up. And that's what society is. It's a bullshit set of laws that you don't really need because we've never needed them. We was existing amongst each other before we started making laws. So why now do we need laws? This is all hyperbolic bullshit. It's a con job. Uh, the New York rights, human rights laws. I keep saying human rights is a bullshit because and laws about human rights or documents about human rights is bullshit because how can a piece of paper hold your freedom or hold your rights? Your rights is within you. If somebody trespasses against them, you have a right to trespass on their ass. That's what that's what power is. That's what freedom is. Every other animal on the planet has these natural freedoms. So in order to for us to live together, we have to give up our rights that every other dumb animal supposed to, because that's what we claim. We claim that all of these other animals are dumb and we're the only ones who are intelligent because we've come up with this system of control that makes us better. No, we still wage war, we still kill one another, we still do all of these things. So I don't get it. All we've done was set ourselves up to be put into other people's frame of authority. We raise these people up that are no better than ourselves, and we put them in a place of authority over us, and then let allow them to make laws ruling us, not governing, ruling us, because the same laws are supposed to apply to everyone, but we see it doesn't. We see that they made corporations private entities as if they was people with rights to vote. And how is that possible when each individual in the building, because that's all a corporation can't exist without the people. It's not a artificial intelligence. So to give a set of people extra voting rights is absolutely absurd in my people because corporation is just a group of people that get an extra set of voting rights. So that's what I say. We get all of these systems of control that don't work. It applies to only a certain section of the population, and then the laws and the guidelines are meant to brainwash and hold people responsible for things. And under oh, I didn't share this shit. God damn it. Oh man. Okay. This is what I was showing. Society. The aggregate of people living together, and see I messed this all up, but maybe I could put this in a post. So then I had the social contract, and I'll put all of this in. But the this is what I don't understand, how people are so easily they because I was raised to believe in the very same things, but I always questioned the things that I were being told. And as I got older and I gained more wisdom, I kind of gained an acceptance that things aren't right, and it has nothing to do with the people like law or police doing misdeeds to one another or the corruption. It's all about freedom. And we claim to be free and want freedom, but we willingly give up our rights or give up our freedoms for no real apparent reason. And if somebody has a reason, I'm telling you something that's real, because we can change society right now. Get rid of money and work together and still have everything we want without people being put out on the street, without have people going hungry, because if we have enough food to supply for everyone and there's no real people out here uh, that needs to go hungry because we have enough food, then why can't that be? We don't have to have make sure that people can live fat to be a bunch of fat whale beasts and stuff like that. But uh, there, I don't know how we would set it up, but we would have to work with that, because you would cut back on a whole lot of the electricity use. We would have to find different. It would allow us to find different ways to use different forms of energy, or to provide energy in different ways instead of the same old ways that depends on these corporate structures and these systems that refuse to change because they are all making money and they don't want to disrupt how they make their money. So in order for them to change, they have to make sure that these good old boys that's been in there for who knows how long, that they get in first before they switch things over. And that's usually how it works. The people in power need to make sure that they keep power before things could change. But that's what I've been saying. If society is the people and we have a social contract, because I tell you like this, I ain't never made no agreement to no social contract. I've never made that agreement. I never made that agreement. That shit was forced upon me when I was born. Social contract was made long before I was born. I never got to sign anything when I was a baby. That's against the law anyway, right? For a child to make agree or to any kind of contract, but you are forced into it when you come into the world. But no other animal on the planet has these stipulations. They have the freedom to do whatever they want, however they want, but the first rules first. You got to feed your stomach. You got to procreate in order to keep the species alive, existing, and you have to find some kind of way to shelter yourself, and you defend yourself from intruders if you possibly can. And most other animals, they have some kind of defense mechanism, and we use destruction and population as a defense mechanism. We wiped out everything that threatened us, and we overpopulated the planet, because no matter what people say, the thing that uh um, causing the problem, all of the problems of the world today, is people. It's not corporations, it's people. It's not pollution, It's people. It's people that cause pollution. It's people that use electricity that makes it necessary to use so many fossil fuels. So without the people, none of these things are the problem. So no matter what, if you say we change how we do things, right? We change how. Okay, let me think about this in a second. All right, let me look up. Let me stop this. Okay, yeah, people, we uh we like to think that we're so brilliant, and people will talk about um in the environment and all of these things, but if did I start that back? Okay. Um, if the problem is that people are the ones who are with the environment or whatever, or global warming, whether it's true or not, we'll find out whether it's true one day or not. So definitely, because if it's true, the world is gonna give us a rude awakening, and if it's not, then we'll just keep on going the way it is. But I think there's going to be a chain of events that will lead to a devastating event uh, reasonably soon. I'm not no Nostradamus, so I ain't gonna try to predict when. But there's something called Yellowstone Park, super volcanoes, and if one of those blow, uh, and they're supposed to, they claim that they blow every 600,000 years or some shit like that, or 60,000 years, and that is overdue. So, and that's what I believe with the fracking and all of the things, the earthquakes and the tornadoes, everything is worse than what it used to be. So, I believe that we don't even understand what's going on. This year, I haven't looked it up. Maybe I should look that up and figure out if there's any there been any more um, volcanic incidences in the South Pacific because of where the volcanoes are. But anyway, I believe that that's what's gonna wipe us out because we're doing too much, and with along with the destabilization of the with the fracking and uh we don't know the last 2 years, not this year, like I said, I'm not sure because I hadn't looked it up, but the last 2 years there were volcanic eruptions, violent eruptions in the South Pacific. Now we don't know what uh venting looks like for a super volcano. So, could that be possibly venting for a super volcano? I submit possibly. So, we don't know. And if that happens, it would basically wipe out man to a very little left because we have people who have bunkers. So, people will survive. And who knows if people aren't expecting that, you know? So anyway, I don't want to get into no conspiracies right now because that's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm talking about society and how we set up to to basically uh, put ourselves into this basic type of a slavery because that's what capitalism is, and the society is set up built on this ingrained slavery. And this is how I'm going to prove that capitalism is basically slavery for the majority of people, especially the middle class, because they're the ones who are dependent on to do all of the work. Um, and the majority of middle class capitalism is slavery, right? All right. Uh, maybe I should look up something else on capitalism. Yeah, maybe I should have looked up. Yeah, let's. Okay. Okay, there's nothing there. All right, here we come. Let's uh, let's pause that, and then okay, where we at? Capitalism. Okay, capitalism an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. Now, how come it can't be controlled by the people? Fuck the government, fuck the state, and fuck these private entities. Why can't we just have factories in our neighborhoods where we go and create products that we can sell overseas, and then any money made off of that is put into a national bank for all of us, not for here, but for when we travel and go overseas for vacation. But and we'll pay off all our debts and all of that stuff like that with that stuff. But we'll be able to imagine the level of uh of freedom that we have. We will have to work. That goes without saying. We will have to work. That's the contract will still exist, but it won't be under slaving for somebody else to get rich, sitting on their ass while us grunts do all of the back breaking work. That's what I'm talking about. That's what a plantation is, right? Capitalism is slavery because let's 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 listen to this. All right, we don't wanna hear all of that. Just get to the point. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Let's go. Oops, to increase wealth. It's to increase wealth. What if we didn't have any money, right? Then we would all be working together for the benefit of everyone, and above nobody would be able to look down on one another because nobody's better than anybody else. Nobody is held in any higher standard or wealthy or anything that's increasing wealth. There, it would be no wealth. It would just be a collective of people working together, living in neighborhoods that have some sort of factory, some sort of industry, and we could then work towards cleaner solutions because we don't have to be obliged to know oil magnates. We don't have to be obliged to know coal industries. So we can look and do what we want because uh, we're not looking for profits. It's all about surviving and living in a free way. And this is what I know. I don't have the answers for everything, but I believe that we had we reestablished our internet so that people just can't invade us and look into what we do and how we do it and change and alter how we function. That we what do they call it? Uh when you what's his name? Young Ripper says it all the time. God damn it. Localize your internet. I forget, but it's where you make it so that it's not in just one location, that you it's spread out all over into many locations, and you can't break in. It makes it extremely hard for you to break in and alter and hack and do all of these things. But anyway, um, uh, that capitalism just ensures that there's a plantation, there's a massa, and there's people working on that plantation. It's basically um, crop sharing, where the slaves were freed, but they still had to stay. They had no place to go, so they had to work for the master for some kind of wage and living quarters, and he still got all of the profit. You still working for him, and you really getting nothing. And that's what's the slaves had to deal with after their so-called emancipation. And that's basically all we are today. We work for somebody else for him to get rich, and what do we get out of it? Basically, when we was on the plantation, you got bored, you was able to put a roof over your head, clothes on your back to some degree, food in your belly, and basically that's it. Well, basically that's all you get now. Enough money just to have food on in your belly, and some people get the other luxuries. But for the majority of us, it's basically the same thing. You get enough to survive on. And that's the same thing that slaves did. You just had enough, you barely get enough to enjoy yourself. It's mostly spent time doing this labor so that the next man could uh reap all of the benefits. Why? Why? Most of the things that we get that we and so in love with, movies, video games, all of these things are luxuries. We don't need these things to survive, but these things are comic books, anything that makes people rich, right? Fashion. We don't need these things, but we want these opportunities for us. We want one day, that's that dream, that one day we could be in that place of wealth, and we can be looking down our noses at people and saying that we're better than others. No, you put on your pants the same way as everybody else. It's that notion that keeps us in the matrix, that mindset. And that's what I'm saying. If people stop thinking that that we're living something special, we're not. Come on, man, get to the okay. See? Trade caravan trade caravans. But before there was money, before people started using gold, because there probably was a time before they just traded. You have something that we considered a certain value, and okay, you can have a certain amount of these for a cow. We don't have them type of cows in our country, so we'll give you blankets, certain amount of our blankets that we make over here in our place, or a certain amount of things that grow in our place, we'll sell to you for something that you got. but people didn't like the even exchange. It was something about even exchange that they didn't like about it. So they came up with the one standard so that you have a money, this fake idea of money that you can give to someone, and you'll always get that same thing every time. You can put a money value on it, and then your product, like if I have a cow, your 10 blankets might not equal what my cow is. And so, but now with my value, I can put a value. I know, hey, my cow is worth 100 gold pieces, and your blankets are only worth 20. You see? And that's how it's all a brainwashing over time. Because gold is just a piece of metal. Diamonds are just a rock, and money is just wood pulp. So these things have no value, really. We're living in a fantasy world. We're living in the matrix. Yeah, but that stuff don't happen anymore. So why can't we still trade without that? So I'm saying the hell with the rest of the world. If the rest of the world wants to operate with money, but yeah, okay. So let us, the United States, we the only real country that works the way we do. We have all of these states that are under one banner, and a lot of other countries don't have that. Russia, and that's why they doing what they doing, and I think China, uh, but Africa, they're a bunch of individuals. Uh, I'm not sure about Australia. But Brazil, I think, or South America, I think all of those are separate countries. So that's what I'm saying. We have well, Canada, I think they work under one thing like us too, but uh they kind of have a different parliamentary type of government. And but anyway, uh I believe that we have a way we can change this and live free, live comfortably, and live better than anybody on the planet, because I'm telling you, if you get rid of that money thing, and that means all of the things that you say you can't do because of money, like solving, we just need money. If we just had more money, we could cure cancer. If we just had more money, we could do this, we could do that. I really don't think we need to be curing cancer. I think we need to do more than just a Thanos snap. We need to take it down way more than half. We need to take it back to more like a few million. A few million, maybe 100 million, because and then we could just start over, uh, and let the world recoup however it wants to on its own. That's what I believe. And yeah, that sounds brutal to get rid of people, but look at what we've done. Look at all of the other animals that used to be on the planet. And no matter what we do, what's going to happen is that the world is going to continue to go down as long as we keep uh, building a population. The We're going to have to keep cutting down forests, but we need forests in order to keep clean air. So that just the act of cutting down forests eliminates a lot of that clean air, unless we're going to build some kind of atmospheric cleanses or whatever. It doesn't make sense. And then basically after that, we're going to have to depend on these machines instead of the wonder of nature, because everything is going to be gone. We're going to wipe out nature, and all wild animals that we know of will be in zoos and some sort of prison, because they won't be able to exist in the wild, because we'll need all of these wild areas to farm. And that's what it's coming to. No matter what we think, we're going to wipe out everything in order for us to live. And I don't believe that's what we're supposed to be. I don't think that we can survive like that. So anyway, uh well, we might be able to, but I don't think we deserve it. I really don't. What diseases do. That's what diseases do. That to the to the to the risk of the body it inhabits, it's willing to survive at all costs. See, but all of that means just getting more products out faster, so that people can make more money. Because remember, back in the days, we used to make all of these things ourselves. So we become more dependent on these people. My mother used to make her own clothes when I was a kid. Her sister made all her own clothes. So this is what I'm talking about. If we give away our power to these other people, because now we dependent on them. There was a time when we didn't go, there was no stores, and there was a mercantile, but women was making their own clothing. They'd make clothes for the family, and if you wanted something fancy, yeah, then you would go to the catalogs and you would buy something fancy to wear, or some uh but a durable pair of work clothes or something like that. Otherwise, your woman was making they'd have sheep to make wool and make clothing out of. There's cotton to we grew those things and had those cotton fields that we could make them cloth ourselves. It's not until we became lazy, and that's what society does. It made us lazy, and now we dependent on these industries instead of ourselves. And I think we should take these things back, because we the ones that run it. There's no, I don't care who owns the company. That dude and his board can't run that bitch. He needs people to drive the trucks, to operate the machinery, to get things out. He needs people, and that's us. So either it should be a sharing a whole lot more of the profits, or fuck you, get your ass on out of here. We don't need you. These are our companies. These are our factories. We don't need you. You can keep the company. The factories are ours. And then we agree. We know it's not about war. It's about what makes sense. We're not going to work for you. We won't work for money. We'll work for freedom. And we keep all of the truck drivers there. That's us. That's people who are doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. The military, the police, these are all us, and we should be able to come to an understanding. But what happens is, when people think they get power, they want to use it, and they want to use it against who? You, because you are all there is the public. You give government power, they use it against you. You give corporations power, they use it against you. You give police power, they use it against you. They're not using it against nobody else, because you are all there is. So that's what don't understand. People are quick to praise these people and praise that. And I'm saying I know we need people. We need people to work in as police. We need people to work in the government, but not for making laws, not for uh, telling people. The average person who commits a crime really does it out of passion, except for stealing. But if you take away the reason to steal, except for greed, just pure greed. Uh, but if he's not starving, you don't need clothes. You don't have no real reason to steal except for you want to live like the Joneses, and you can, but you got to work. And in a system that I'm talking about, you might not even have to work as long as everybody else. Because if everybody's working, there's none of these financial institutions. So all of these jobs are gone. So that means everybody is focusing on building shit, creating shit, and physically bringing things into existence. These jobs that like service industries would really fade away, except for maybe food, delivering food and things like that. But how much of that do you want, especially if it's pre-cooked food? But these corporations would cease to exist, really, especially here in the United States. Yeah, but that just takes jobs away from the people who need them. See, uh, this capital industrial capitalism doesn't care about the people. It only cares about the owner and providing more money to the person at the top. It doesn't care about its workers. It doesn't care about the people that it's trying to so-called serve, that it's trying to get its products. It doesn't care that, oh, the people could use the product. No, it just needs to sell more products around the world to more people so that he can become more rich, more wealthy. It's all about increasing wealth, like he says. And increasing wealth only goes to the 1%. So capitalism only cares about massa. It only cares about massa, that 1%. And how come all of these years since we've created capitalism, it hasn't changed? It's always only the 1%. The odds of anybody becoming part of that 1% is astronomical. So it doesn't care about you. That means everybody else is being held down by some means, or the system is geared because everybody can't live up there. Who's going to work for you if they're rich? If I'm a wealthy person, I'm not going to work for somebody else in no factory. So the system is set up to put you in this place of slavery, to enslave you, to enslave yourself. It it's it allows you to enslave yourself because it takes away all of your other abilities to survive on by yourself. You can't go out and hunt. You can't, because the government takes that away from you. You can't fire a gun how you want to unless it's when and where they tell you to. You can't just take the skin off an animal and use it for clothing. You just can't go cut down some trees and build a home. You can't, because the ground that you walk on belongs to the government. How? That's nature. It doesn't belong to anybody. And that's what the wild teaches you. The wild teaches you that all animals have to fend for themselves. They don't own the territory. Yeah, they claim this area, but if somebody stronger comes in, then your claim is for shit. That's what power is. It has nothing to do with some made up systems of control like money and laws and all of that. So that, because laws are meant to protect that 1%, it's not meant to protect the people. But you ain't gonna see people running. How many times you see people running into wealthy neighborhoods doing dirt? How many times? It's very rare. But there's dirt being done on lower levels all the time. Why? Because it doesn't care about you. It can't afford to. And that's what I don't understand why people don't get, that the system is built for as a pyramid to provide for. It's a big pyramid scheme. It's all meant for you to keep giving to the man up, to the smaller pinnacle up at the top. And you don't get nothing down on the bottom. It is the capitalism is the pyramid of the original pyramid scheme, because look at all of these major companies come along buying up all of the smaller companies. You're not allowed to exist. That's what it was always. That's why they made supposed laws and regulations against it. But it still allowed it to happen because it allowed these corporations to give them money so that they can turn their back and look the other way and all of these things. If you had an idea and that you can say I had an idea, and but in order for me to make enough, I have to involve all of the people in my village. Say I want to make my comic book. I want to make Might. And in order for me to get it done, I need all the people on my block to help me get paper, print it, come together and do all of the things that is needed to put together this book and get it out in the numbers that's going to be favorable. Why do I get to reap all of the profits when I need all of them to accomplish my goals? Now, maybe could deserve something extra because I created the 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 product, or I came up with the idea for the product. But why do does everybody else have to live to a degree so far beneath me that it becomes this slave master relationship? Because this sharecropping relationship. Okay, so you are getting money, but it's just enough to keep you so just comfortable enough that you realize that there's nowhere nothing else you could do besides to keep working for these people. And it's hard for you to create on your own or build for your own. These days it makes it easier because of the internet, but that's only something recent. When I was a kid, there was no internet. So this whole creating comic books or creating my ragman, just say that ragman, that's something that anybody could do really if I taught them how to do it. But it's not just something that's easily, because I try to teach my family members and not everybody could catch on. And so this is what I'm saying. If I could teach somebody how to do something, I should reap some of the benefits from it. If you making money off my idea, yeah. But say I teach you how to make it, he's still doing all of the work. You just using my idea. So maybe I should get some kickback from everything that you put out, but I shouldn't reap the benefits of being so far above this guy. It's like, okay, I sell him a franchise on how to build my ragman. And so that means I get half or three quarters because he's got to buy all of the supplies and everything from me. So the money he makes, he could charge only a certain amount, but he still got to give me for supplies. He got to give me because I've had the idea and all of that. So basically, he can make enough money to make himself comfortably wealthy, but he can never be on the status that I'll be on. Now, I'm not saying that that's all that bad, but in a way it is, because why should I be held so far above when he's doing just as much work as me? Only difference is I came up with the idea. So as long as I get a little bit extra, so I could be a little bit wealthier than him, maybe by 10%, 20% more, but he should have the right to be that 80% wealthier, or have of wealth. Maybe I get, like I said, I'll get that extra 10%, because and if I get more people, I'll get an exponential bump. But then, even then, shouldn't I be spread some of that a little bit more? If I'm getting so much more from all of these people who are trying to just do the same thing that I'm doing, shouldn't I then be able, instead of taking 10% off of each person, I'm only taking 9%? And depending on how many people I got, it'll go down, and that way I'm not fucking gouging everyone for profit. It's not all coming into my pocket. It's being spread out. And this is what I'm saying. Why can't we have it something like that? And either that or get rid of the money altogether and we just work together. I don't understand why we can't so confused about these ideas. Why do we have to be working for someone else? Why do we have to work together? Because you can't build a home, or skyscrapers. You can't build trains and cars and all of these things without having multiple people involved. You can work together, but why do you have to work for someone? This is what it bothers me. Why do I have to work for someone? No one's better than me. No one is better than me because you had a different idea than I got ideas too. That doesn't make you better. And this is what I'm saying. Some people, just because of the kind of things, there's plenty of different kinds of pants out here, but people are allowed to get rich selling a certain type of pants because it's more expensive than the other ones. You see what I mean? It doesn't make no real sense. When if we can make different kinds of pants and stuff from the United States under different names and sell them around the world. Like, again, we can make our own textiles. We can make our own industries. That's the problem with a lot of us today, like black folks. They don't make any, we don't really make our own industries. Say we don't supply our neighborhood with goods. We don't control it from what do they call it? Womb to the tomb. We don't have, we have black farms, but we don't have black trucks that deliver the black foods to black distributorships that delivers it to black supermarkets in black neighborhoods. We don't have that. Asians have, I've seen Chinese food places that have Asian trucks delivering Asian products that have Asian writing and corporate names on them. And so, if Asians could come to this country and keep their thing, you see, go to Chinatown and you see all of these people doing Chinese things with Chinese this and Asian culture. And well, when you go to a black neighborhood, you see white culture, except for if it's a ghetto, and then that's supposed to be, even though ghettos exist in every place and under all cultures, but you really is kind of like hung on the neck of black folks. And that's because black folks, we don't work together. And partially that's our teaching, our training, slave training, and this is part of society. This is all of these things are part of society, and people don't realize that if this brainwashing affects us. uh, the way I think comes from how I've seen in nature, because I was raised, like I said, without all this internet and all these channels and all of that. So when there was nothing on TV, it's to PBS and the nature shows, because that was the only other things that was uh interesting. Natures and bugs and all of this wild animals and under the sea and different types of scientific programs like outer space. That's where I got my love for the comic books and stuff like that, and my science fiction and all of these things. So in my stories, I have, well, but I'm not going to spoil what I'm talking about now. We're getting into comic book shit. So, yeah, society is what we make of it, and I believe we need to keep control of it. We don't have to go to war, because those people are not gonna. You can't send the army of our people, our children, against us. You can't send the police against us. These are supposed to be our people, of who make up this, the same people who are just working stiffs. And this is why I don't understand. If we agree, just come to an agreement. How can any of these other people, if there's only 1% of them, how could they say anything? All we have to do is make an agreement amongst ourselves that we won't work for money anymore. Just and get rid of the master thing. Fuck wanting to live this idealistic lifestyle of rich and famous. We can have sweets. We can each live in a luxurious lifestyle. If you think about it, with all of these financial institutions, how many buildings would open up in these cities? If people cannot own all of these multiple major things, then how much then becomes available to regular people? If everybody gets a home, and say if you are one of these people who provide stuff for other people, you make movies or you come up with products, and so you can get an extra home somewhere so that you can travel back and forth from one place to another. Just little benefits. Not that you're gonna have ultra wealth living in some big mansion, because mansions won't go to the wealthy, because there won't be any wealthy. You just get one extra spot, maybe, if you provide extra for people. If you're the type of a person who provides for the population, if have ideas that can provide entertainment, goods, services for everyone else, and you're not just a person who's a worker, then okay, I could understand someone having some place where he could travel and but to have multiple places overseas and here, there, mansions, living in these luxurious lifestyles, for what purpose? You know better than anybody else. You're just doing a job like everyone else. Some jobs are more dangerous. True. Again, if you want to let them get more luxuries, let them allow them some more little and but everybody will have a certain degree of luxuries. And I don't see why anybody shouldn't. And I don't even understand why anybody really deserves more luxurious lifestyle than anyone else, especially if you're eating and you have a home that nobody can kick you out of. What else do you need to feel important? I don't understand it. I don't understand why people have to feel, because uh, having power is within oneself. Money doesn't give you that power. It allows you to feel more powerful because people will bow down to you, but it doesn't actually give you more power, because you take away police, you take away the protections for these wealthy people, and they're just other people, because anybody will go and take anything that they got. What are they going to do to stop you without somebody else, most likely some regular person, protecting them, because police are regular people, military are regular people. So this is what I'm saying. Society is what we need. What it is to us. We shouldn't be brainwashed by it. We shouldn't fall victim to the ideas of what society could be, because that's what we've done. We've made these luxuries everything, and we've given up on the human side of it, because without if capitalism and money and everything else like that is the gold, then people ain't shit. They're just beasts of burden. And if that's the way you want it, then okay. Because as soon as you agree to the concept of society and capitalism, which is a part of society, as soon as you believe in all of that, you believe that people ain't shit. Because at some point, in order to be a wealthy person, you have to be someone who provides goods and services. And that means somebody has to work for you. Now, you don't care about that person because you know that person's going to look for a certain amount of money out of you. And so you can't afford to care at any level about that person. It's like savagery, going back to the wild. You think a lion gives a fuck? It's like what they said in Game of Thrones. A lion doesn't care for the opinion of sheep. And as long as society says that people with money are more powerful than you instead of people who actually have power, then lions aren't really lions. Sheep can be lions as long as they have the protection of society. And that's what it is. A lot of sheep are put in positions of power. You think Jeff Bezos and what's that kid from Facebook? Mark Walla Mark Zuckerberg. You think Mark Zuckerberg wouldn't be a fucking target for every roughneck out there if it wasn't for protections? There's no amount of money that could protect him if it wasn't for society. So if society's the culprit, society's the guilty person. Society is the matrix that makes you think that you're not good enough, that you no. People who don't function as society, are they weak? Are they just wanting to be free of the rules of other people? Because again, people society was created long before us, and we are born into it. You don't have a choice. We didn't get to sign this social contract. So if that's the case, people come into this and are forced to live throughout it. And because you don't want to live under this system of oppression, because it tells you what you can and can't do. It says you can't, that the government owns the land, so you can't go out and take a part of the land and piss in the four corners and say this is mine and keep out like other animals do and other predators do, and and then build up cut down some trees, build up a home, and then go around and hunt the weakest amongst us in order to keep the strongest at the peak of strength. No, that's not what we do. We say all weak people have a right to live, and we are going to help bring them up, keep them up with the rest of society. Well, we've gotten so soft because we've gotten living such a cushy lifestyle. Nobody's out there cutting down trees anymore for the way we used to with axes and all of that. No, we got these industrial strength machines that do all of the labor, And now we're a bunch of soft ass motherfuckers sitting around, and it's these soft ass individuals who are going, please, we deserve representation. And it just, and so now instead of lifting the weak up, all of the strong people are being stomped down to this weak point. Here's an idea. Here's an idea. Was the illy ill for these last 2 years, this whole thing with the scare, with the vaccines and forcing us to get vaccinated, and the herd uh, immunity thing and all of that? Do you think that is possible that it could have been a test to see how weak and how malleable society has gotten as a whole? Instead of herd immunity, were they looking for herd malleability? How controllable are they? Can we get them to do what we say when we say it? I'm just saying. I'm not saying that somebody's out there with any theories of dominance. I'm just saying, is it possible? Is it? After all, we are getting weaker. You see, there's more weak people screaming for this and that. And matter of fact, they're screaming loudly so that people would take notice. And they're being helped by this very same people I've been talking about, the 1%, the government and the corporations. Why? Why would corporations give up all this money in the products that they make? Gillette lost millions, Netflix millions, Disney millions, probably billions by this time. Are they all? Jeff Bezos is joining in. $1 billion property. Are these people doing it because they know they could write it all off, and which will all fall on the basics on the people because of the taxes that they get to write off? We got to be responsible for that, right? Because they get the biggest tax write-offs, even though they're corporations, right? They're individuals now. Corporation is an individual now. So not only that, I already talked about how feminists and the weak are the weakest sex of society besides the moisturized men. Uh-oh. 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 Moisture alert. The humidity is getting high. The humidity is getting high now. We got the moisture alert. Moist America alert. You gotta make sure y'all get put it, y'all get your oil of Olay out and put it on thick. Because we talking about get all you people who need your humidifiers, your get them out, put them out. For you weak, you really moisturized motherfuckers, get your industrial strength humidifiers out there and get that moisture into your skin deep, deep, deep. Because because we talking about some weak ass people, moist men, feminist men who are pushing this weak, moisturized, feminine thing. See, society back in the days, this is something that I had to talk about because society back in the days is a lot like the military today. Women cannot function. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. Women cannot function in the military side by side with men. It just does not, it can't happen because women will bring down, uh, women will bring down the functionality of the male army because of their inability to be as strong, their inability to be as quick. So you'll make the men weaker. There's two things I want to bring up. Okay, uh, you won't be able to move as fast. You won't be able to. Here we go. All right, here we go. Let me share this. All right, here we go. Now,
back in March watching this experiment, talking to the men and women who volunteered
significantly better and got hurt less often. Compared men and women experiment that will help determine the future of women in combat. The study compared men and women fighting side by side. The final report released yesterday says men performed significantly better and got hurt less often. Jan Crawford is in Washington with the story. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning. We spent several days in the California desert back in March watching this experiment, talking to the men and women who volunteered, and now the results are in. And for those arguing that women should be able to perform all the same combat jobs as the men, the news is discouraging.
The news is discouraging. That means women did not measure up. Now, if you're talking about back in medieval times or feudal times of any kind, women swinging swords side by side with men, the same weight of swords, because you're going to be expected to go up against a man. Can she handle that weight and then the power of that man swinging a sword against her? I doubt it. Then you got to carry a shield.
It was as close to war as you could get.
Fire in the hole!
An unprecedented scientific study. Men and women enlisted Marines side by side for months of simulated battle.
6.
And throughout, researchers watched and recorded their performance to help determine what impact women would have on combat. Even then, the women realized they were at a disadvantage.
It's not that we can't carry the weight. We can carry the weight, but it's the pace, especially when we're matched up with the males. You're looking at our size, and we have males that are almost 6 foot with longer strides, and it's hard to catch up with them and keep up with them.
So
that
means the supplies, the amount of military troops can't get to the location at the same rate. That means that you're holding back the operations that you need in order to carry out successful military movements and deployments. So having a woman there is nothing against women. It's just that you don't have the same capabilities of a man. So what is wrong? And look back in history. So if you can't, if it's impossible for a woman, you're shorter, you're smaller in stature, so you're not gonna be, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this because I want you to see the rest of that. But there's if you're smaller, okay. What's the name of that character? The humpback. Okay. Here we go. All right. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We coming back. We coming back, peoples. We's coming back. Oh, did I stop saving? Stop sharing? No, I didn't. Here I go. Uh-oh. Here we go. Move, man. Move, bitch. Get out my way. Get out my way, bitch. Get out my way. Move. Here we go. Let's put this in and share. And then we go over here. Okay, here we go.
Into the hot gates.
There is nothing to forgive, brave king. Born of Sparta. My mother's love led my parents to flee Sparta, lest I be discarded.
Your shield and armor.
My father, sir. I beg you, bold king, to permit me to redeem my father's name by serving you in combat.
Now, homeboy looked like he could be kind of formidable. He looked like he got some musculature and everything like that, right? But
my father trained me to feel no fear, to make spear and shield and sword as much a part of me as my own beating heart. I will earn my father's armor, noble king.
this is the woman.
You in the battle.
See? He looks formidable. This is a woman. This is a woman. Just think about it.
Fine thrust.
I will kill many Persians.
Raise your shield.
Sire.
Raise your shield as high as you can. Your father should have taught you how a phalanx works.
See?
Fight as a single, impenetrable unit.
You fight as a single impenetrable unit. Now,
That is the source of our strength. Each Spartan protects the man to his left, thigh to neck with his shield.
thigh to neck with his shield. So that means him not being able to raise his shield from thigh to neck on an average man compromises the phalanx. And this is what we see here with women. Women cannot function on the same level as a man can. So no matter how much they want to, you put us all at risk. You put us all at risk because if you don't have the physical capabilities.
What the results show, in almost every area, the all-male units performed significantly better than those with both men and women Marines. The men were faster in each tactical movement.
Faster in each tactical movement. They were better across the board in every aspect of the training. How could you say that a woman is equal to a man in these aspects? They have this movie, the Woman King, or that's ridiculous that a woman can go into battle head to head against a man. Absolutely ridiculous. Sure she can, but she's gonna get butchered.
Had better accuracy and were quicker. They registered more hits on target and had a noticeable difference in their performance of overcoming obstacles and evacuating casualties.
So not only are they faster, They're quicker to the shot, more accurate to the shot. So that means they can run, carrying things on their back, fall to the ground, aim their weapon, fire a shot with more of an accuracy than a woman can on the fly. So that means less ammo being wasted, more enemies being taken out. Why do you need someone there when you got a man that could do the job? Why do you need someone there who's going to be a detriment when you can put a man in that person's place that's going to help you to do more of your job? Make sure your accuracy across the board is getting taken down. So you're wasting your less rounds, you're more efficient on every level, and you can traverse obstacles better and evacuate casualties better. This is what evacuating casualties is what helps to save these individuals' lives who get hurt in battle. You dragging and slagging only leaves more than one person in jeopardy.
The Marines commissioned the study after then Defense Secretary Leon Panetta in 2013 ordered the military to open all combat jobs to women.
We must. And then I heard there was I don't have that, but I saw on the Tribecast or Tribe of Men. That's a YouTube channel. They he did I think it was him who did a whole thing on this on how the women were put into the Rangers unit, and they kept failing until this general came through there and pushed them through again, and then finally they failed, and then finally he passed them just to get them through. Why would you? So, in other words, there's women out there who are complaining about representation. You've been getting the representation that you deserve because it's the men who are the actual heroes in comic books. It's actually men who have done these spectacular things across the board. Men have conquered, men have built, men have run into burning buildings, men have done all these things. I'm not saying women can't do these things, but women don't. I'm just saying, why would you then, if women back in the days, you couldn't be shoulder to shoulder when men are swinging swords. You couldn't carry these shields and swing your sword the way the men do. So then the best act for the women is to stay back with the children, protecting the children, defending the family, making sure the things around the home is taken care of while the men fought and built shit. I'm gonna do another video about this castle building, and there's women building a castle in modern day, and they're not using a whole lot of modern equipment, and you can see that even then it's men that's going to be coming up with the devices that they use to the pulley systems. It's the men that came up with all of these things. So why, if men are carrying most of the weight, doing all of the heavy rock breaking and carrying and toting, why do you need a woman there to help you build something when she should be cooking the food that keeps you nourished to make sure the homes are built sturdily and that the farms are dug right, the trenches are dug right. It's better if you can't provide with your raw brute strength that you provide in other ways. What was wrong with that? There's no oppression in that. Women were able to have babies out in the field while picking crops. The baby would drop, they pick up the baby, pick up the crops, and they run back inside. Because people were differently built then. We were stronger. So, and how many women had multiple babies back in them days? They had large families, 10, 15 babies, some of them. So today to think that women are saying the things that they're doing, and for society's sake, all of these things, you're not changing society for the better. What you're doing is, because society, American society, is weaker because of its luxuries and laziness, women think that they are equal. And you are equal human beings. You are equal as a human being. Man needs women because you're our other halves. But man doesn't need women when it comes to building. Man doesn't need women when it comes to fighting. Man doesn't need women when it comes to any of the major things that men do. It's not like you can function on those same levels. And it's not a disrespect in any way to women. It's just that that's the reality of things. Men function differently because we've had to. There's no expectations. People say that there's an expectation of men to provide. No, there's no expectation. That's what we had to do. It was a demand. It wasn't an expectation. That's what had to be. Because in order for life to be as good as it could possibly be at those times, that's what it had to be. Women had to stay protected in shelters, and because the world was a lot more brutal place. You had to not only worry about wild animals, you had to worry about wild people. And were they wild men? Yeah. Men are the ones who fight the battles. Men are the ones who are the dominant species of the planet. So yeah, there's gonna be men that you have to worry about fighting against. So we understood that since the beginning of time. But now that the civilization has basically pacified our conditions to the point that man can be so soft, and there's no real threat. Now it's sweep the man under the carpet and push him in the closet, get rid of him, because that strength, it inhibits people in power. See, in a feminist world, the government is big daddy, is big brother, and the corporations is big daddy, because the corporations tell the government what to do with the lobbying and all of that. So big brother is obligated to big daddy, and corporations is big daddy. So, and all of these feminist movements are direct push by corporate interests. And all of them are run by men. So it's an ingenious thing. And if you really look at it, you just get the weakest people to fight your battle and give you all of the power when they cry about how unfair it is. And then these corporations jump out into the midst, pushing these fake narratives. And that's what you got to deal with. So I don't understand how weak the mentality of people are. They're so connected to the matrix. They are so connected to the matrix that they can't stand to be without that state. They can't stand to be without those Xbox games and all of that. And in order to get back into the matrix or to stay in the matrix. They'll sell out Morpheus, they'll sell out Neo, they'll sell out anybody, mama, papa, sister, brother. It doesn't matter. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the weakest amongst us selling out the people who built everything that made them comfortable. Just and because they're weak, they don't understand what they're doing. That they're handing over power to the people they don't want in power over them. But the only way for them to have power is for the corporations and the government to give it to them, because they can't take it for themselves. If otherwise they would have already. If women were so oppressed, they would imagine if women were in colonies of their own. They'd be conquered all the time. From the beginning of mankind, it would have been that way. Women would have been conquered, enslaved from time immemorial. They would have been attacked from, there would be tribes coming from all over the place to conquer them. Tribes of men coming from all over the place to conquer them. And they would have won because they had, just imagine how many women would be getting pregnant. Imagine if because that's, I got to make a video about this too. Men provide the male sperm. Women can't do that. I mean, the male genetics. Women can't do that. Men can provide men and women genetics. Women can't. They can only provide female genetics. We provide the X and the Y gene. Women only produce the, is it the X? And men provide the Y. So in order for a female to have a male child, has to have a man. And without men, you got no society, you got no world, you got no women, because women would have fell victim to all of the rest of the predators out there. Because it was the men who built the weapons that made it possible to fight the animals. Because look at it, man was the weakest thing walking the planet. Man didn't have no big, long, sharp teeth. Man didn't have no big, long, sharp claws to fight with. All we had is, and we couldn't climb in the trees because we were too big, and we was too small to be powerful like gorillas to frighten anybody off. So we would have been the perfect victim for predators like packs of dogs, hyenas, lions, wolves. Perfect. So the only thing that made us that differentiated us, that gave us a leg up, was our ability to make weapons. That's it. And that's a man thing. So you take away men, there's no more human species. There's no more human species. Because there's never been the strength to build the way we build. There would have never been the strength to explore the way we explore. There would have never been the strength to conquer what we've conquered. There's never been that strength. It would have never been. Never would have happened. So, wow, 2 hours already. Jeez. Dang, I didn't expect it to go this long. Usually I do some outer space shit because that's part of this. I got some outer space stuff too, but it's gonna take me another hour to talk about that stuff. I'm gonna have to come back next week because the Matrix Doctrine is gonna be kind of phased out on Mondays. It's just gonna be the Power Matrix. And every once in a while, because I don't have too many more systems of control. If I come up with something, I'll bring it in. But every Monday to expect a new system of control or something like that, I don't have it in me. I think I only got like 2 or 3 more like feminism. That's a system of control for today. I guess I could do capitalism, parents, stuff like that. There's not that many more left to do. Uh, so I'm gonna just fold that in, and when I come up with some new uh, systems of control, I'll do a matrix doctrine within the confines of the matrix, the power matrix, and but from now on, I'm just gonna be doing the power matrix shows where I talk about different shit like this, and we going to kind of get back to we're gonna try to keep things flowing more, and so that I can try to make more content while doing my live streams. I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of live streams either. I'm gonna be pulling back on live streams and focusing more on putting out these videos and content like that. I'm going to be putting out some reviews of different old classic TV shows and movies. I got Hawaii 5-0, Cannon, Starsky and Hutch, Mannix, and Mod Squad from back in the 60s. I have all of those on DVD, so I'm going to be doing reviews and I got to finish editing, and then I'm going to post them. But yeah, I'm going to start doing those types of shows, all of those old shows that I like, 24, Magnum PI, anything that I got, the Guns of Will Sonnet. That's an old Western show from back in the day. I know I have Wanted Dead or Alive, Steve McQueen show from black and white or back in the days. So I'm gonna do all of these old westerns and like Shane and Magnificent Seven and stuff like that, and some Audie Murphy stuff. And that's basically what I'm gonna stick with. Some old gangster movies and some old detective movies like Key Largo and things like that. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna mostly fixate on this channel and trying to get might out there, because that's what I'm here for, to build up this channel and so that I can push and promote Might, the graphic novel, and sell my book the way that Young Ripper did. But there's no way I'll be able to do what Young Ripper did, because he's been on YouTube for 15 years and I've barely been on for 2, and I barely stuck with it. So my growth has been minimized because of my lack of determination as far as the whole video process. I just want to make comic books and stuff like that. But I know that's not the best way to build up a channel, especially I don't have the content. I got comic books, but I haven't read them in years, and they're all old, and I'm not trying to buy these new shit to do reviews on. So I can't really do that. So I'm gonna focus on old cartoons, because I got a bunch of those. I got a bunch of cartoon movies like the DC stuff. I have animes. I have Japanese CG computer graphic movies like 40K Warhammer. I have the Resident Evil movies, 3 of those. I have Final Fantasy movies, 2 of those. I have a few, and I have Legend of Crystania. I have a whole bunch of stuff. Well, I have more than what I've got now I have Pink Panther and some things like that. So I'm gonna see what I can get away with. I'm gonna test the waters of what I can get away with on these channels, and I'm gonna just put up that products. I have a whole bunch of old puppet shows like Fireball XL5 and the Red Scarlet, I think it is, or something like that. But I got a whole bunch of those shows. I got about 4 or 5 of those, and yeah, I'm gonna be posting those on my 2 channels in order to build them up, so that I can, when it comes time to sell Might, I hope to have a lot more completed, and I'll be able to show you everything soon. I'm hoping, because I'm working hard on it to develop everything I need. So yeah, thanks for coming through and hanging out with me tonight. And I'm gonna try again. I'm not gonna guarantee I'm gonna be doing a whole lot of live streams, but I'm gonna try to do a lot more of these videos. And maybe I'll do a live stream once or twice a week, one on each channel. Get a few videos out a week, and put out those TV show reviews and old cartoon reviews. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to build up this channel, get a couple of thousand subscribers, and then we can sell our book. Or maybe just start building a following, and so that I can get out on some of these other bigger YouTube channels that are in CG and promote my book. I just really got to get my product out there, and that's the book. And I just wasn't happy with what I was doing, so I went back to the drawing board. I I've seen what other people are putting out, and I just couldn't put my book out under the condition that I thought it was in. And then on top of it, I was kind of readjusting from the deaths that I've had in my family recently. So all of that in conjunction is why I'm starting over again from here. All right. So I'm out of here. Thanks for coming through, checking us out. Like, subscribe, and share. Do that YouTube thing and help us grow so that we can bring you some high quality products in our mic campaigns. So yeah, till the next time, this has been the Matrix Doctrine, and I am Monstrosity X. Welcome to the pit, and come back to the pit.